Hello friends and mom. Today we are going to take our hat off of our loom. In our last video I did some stitches and I just kept going with a row of knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, making a garter stitch well enough, long enough that I figure it can fit a micro preemie, which I am familiar with. I never had a micro preemie of my own, but one year I had a brother and a niece and a nephew who all range between 2 and 4 pounds. And let me tell you what, I usually give birth to enormous babies. There is nothing cuter than a little 2-pound baby. It may be very dangerous and awful, but Lord, they are cute. Anyway, so this tiny little sock loom makes a nice little preemie hat. It also makes a good baby doll hat, 18-inch dolls. Dorothy's dolls have a number of these. Anyway, this is more about the lesson than about what we're going to do with this product. Okay, so we've went around and around and around and around, and now we have a tail. Now see, I just used some leftover yarn. Usually you can do a hat, a regular size hat, with about one skein of yarn, which is nice. You know, sometimes I try to never buy one skein because what if I want to make something else? So I usually try to buy 4 or 5 or whatever matching, so I don't end up stuck and unable to finish a project. Okay, so we take our tail. We just did knit, purl, around and around and around. We ended right before our belly button. You know, we begin over here, we end over here. And I'm going to take it and wrap it around. I think once is adequate, but again, I don't like to end up in a pinch, so I wrap it around twice, back to the belly button. And we're just using that for a measure. And I cut it off. Okay. Now I take my yarn needle and we're going to push our yarn through like so. Leave a little tail, you know, just so it doesn't fall out. Now, this was our last stitch here. Okay? And we are going to, let me get my hand out of the way. We are going to stitch right through the loop, you know, on our very first, where we did our very first stitch. Okay? And I'm pulling it off. There. And again, let's demonstrate. I could go on from top to bottom, bottom to top. Doesn't seem to make a difference to me. Do what you're comfortable with. Okay, so we just pierced in through that. Our needle's going through. We're just pulling it through until it's tight. And removing our peg, or our loop from our peg. Okay, and you can already see, there we go, we've got 2 loops on our string. And we can go all the way around, just like that. See? And it's coming off. This is just the most exciting. This is, you know, I've delivered 6 children, and this is just like when they're like, we see the head. This is so exciting. Like, you're almost there. You almost have a hat. Just pulling around. It pulls off. The reason you need so much yarn, you're gonna end up cutting most of it off. But it's got to fit around while you're doing this binding off step. then we're going to do a little bit of sewing as well. But see this here might be a little bit easier because I've used only one, again, because I wasn't thinking about making like a real functional hat. I was just trying to demonstrate stitches. I've made a real loose knit here because I only used one strand of a rather thin yarn. And I did the garter stitch, which is kind of loose as well. So you might really have to work at this if you did a chunkier hat. I mean, it's not impossible, but sometimes it takes a little elbow grease. That's okay. Hard work won't hurt you. It's okay to put a little effort into life. You won't break, usually. Now, isn't that a nice thing about making things by hand? We live in such a consumer crazy, excess consumer crazy society. Shop, 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 shop. And making things yourself just forces you to kind of slow down. I could go pop into a store and buy a dozen hats super quick, but this one here maybe took a couple days. Not that I didn't consume anything. I had to buy the yarn. I had to buy the loom. Okay, look at that. That was our last one, and it popped right off. Now we have this tube. We have this tube. And we are going to pull. Pull on our yarn. Pull, and we are pulling until it's all closed up. See that? Nice and closed. Now, I do have one tiny little hole, and I'm going to put my needle in that little hole and flip my hat inside out. Okay? And pull my yarn through. Now, we're inside out. Excuse me. And I'm just going to, so hard to see, I'm going to stick my needle in through this row of loops that's going around our yarn that we pulled. I'm going just across it, you know, like you're slicing a pizza. There we go. I'm just trying to pick up one piece and go straight across. And this is going to close up that little hole that we had left. I do it a few times because I'm paranoid. Maybe I have a little touch of obsessive compulsive disorder, and not the kind that it's like, oh look, my house is clean, that's obsessive compulsive disorder. No, I have the kind that's more like I overthink things until I can't move on, and then nothing gets done. So here I could end up obsessively tying this stupid knot. So I'm going to stop now because I don't want to look like a crazy person. Okay, so I've left a little bit. I haven't pulled it completely tight. Can you see? There we go. And I'm going to put my needle just through there, back to front, and pull it tight. And I leave a little bit that I can still work my needle through. I'm just making a knot. You know, again, like tying shoelaces or what have you. Now that's a good, decent knot. And then, because I worry, I like to fish through some more yarn just because if anything should ever happen to this precious little hat, I'd like to be able to repair it with some of the leftover yarn that I fished through here. I've never actually had that problem, and yet I don't stop doing it. Okay, I'm going to cut this off right in close. See, you can see it a little, but that doesn't matter. Flip my hat back, and there we have a cute little baby hat. That's our closed up end. Here I brought along some thicker hats that I've made in the past in our Go Team Mondo Fights Back colors. That is one top. Here's another purple and greeny that I made. Oop. All sealed up. You can see it. There's no, I'm pushing my finger right against it and it does not pop out because I have so obsessively shut this hole. And this hat here I wear just about every day, and it's not coming apart. But that's a chunky yarn. That's a super chunky yarn, and that stays together. So anyway, here we have this cute little hat, and we are going to work together to make it a trendy little hat. What does that mean, Laura? Well, here, I have some more leftover yarns. We've got a pale turquoise yarn that I used to make a striped elf hat for Dorothy a few years ago. And we have some more white yarn. What are we going to do? This is so exciting. Okay, we are going to pull them together. And we are going to wrap them around, well, we have a tiny baby hat. So we're just going to wrap them around 3 of our fingers. We are making a pom-pom, right? Because every little 18-inch doll and every little newborn needs to be trendy, and pom-poms are so in. Here, this is done, my white. Doesn't matter. I'm going to keep going with the turquoise. Now, the more you wrap, the tighter your pom-pom will be. And of course, if I were making an adult pom-pom, I might go straight around my hand. You know, if I wanted a really big, obnoxious pom-pom. I have like pom-pom anxiety because, oh gosh, third grade, Santa Claus brought me a bright yellow hat with a pom-pom, and I was absolutely bullied over this pom-pom, so I just can't accept that pom-poms are back in style, or in style. I don't know that they ever were. So you probably won't catch me with a pom-pom on my head, but I see all sorts of women around there who probably weren't humiliated with their bright school bus yellow pom-pom when they were 8 years old, and good for them. Okay, so we've wrapped around, and we're just going to slip that off my fingers. And we're going to take our ball yarn that leads to our ball. We're going to wrap it around super tight. Cut it off. Now I'm taking the tail of my other yarn. We're going to follow that. Follow that and tie a knot. Tight, tight knot. And of course, because I worry, we're going to go a few times around, tying it as tight as we can. And we will make a permanent knot. And this is how we're going to attach it to our hat, is with these strings. So leave some string. Okay, now, see, we have like a little spray here and a little spray there. We are going to take our scissors and go through and we're just cutting it You try to cut through. Sometimes you have to look in there. Look in there and really see, did I get every loop? Did I cut every loop? No, I did not. Cut, cut, cut. Now we're cutting on the other side of our tie, our waist. Make sure to cut every single one for optimum poof. Okay, oh, we're getting there, folks. We are getting there. All right, now we have a pom-pom. Oh, sure to dazzle all the other NICU babies. Looks a little crazy though, doesn't it? You can give your pom-pom a haircut. Pom-poms around, just don't cut. Don't cut your attachment strings. Here. See, and you puff it out. Look at that. Now, Dorothy has some pom-pom hats that she'll go to school with, and I don't believe she's been bullied. Dorothy doesn't understand bullying. She comes home sometimes and tells me some stories about things kids say, and she'll be laughing and laughing, and I'm like, you know, I try to hide it because I don't want her to be upset, but I'm like, these kids are freaking rotten, rude. So, if Dorothy gets bullied about her pom-pom, I don't know, she's not the best judge of bullying. She doesn't care. Slides off her, what is it, water off a duck's back or butt or something. Gosh, we have a real idiom problem in our family. We just can never remember them, so we make them up. Okay, so this pom-pom, you know, in your own time and space, you can obsess over your pom-pom and make it perfectly round. I certainly have in the past, but for the purpose of wrapping this up, we're going to be done with our pom-pom. I dropped my needle between my legs. Woo! Found it. Okay. So, what do we do now, Laura? We're going to rethread our fatty yarn needle and jab it through. I'm just taking one side and jabbing it through on one side of our pucker and pulling it right through. And I'm coming off. I'm going to do that with the other string now. Kind of on the other side of my pucker. I want to anchor it well. Okay. Now I'm through. I'm going inside out. I'm going inside out, pulling it off the needle so that I can tie some really strong knots here, tight as I can, to keep that pom-pom in place. We don't want it loose and dangling and looking like some hack made it. Lots of knots, so we don't come off. Here, my strings are uneven, so I'm just going to, why do I talk like such a hillbilly? All right, I'm just going to feed both bits through. Here. Now I suppose you could do it one at a time if you've got a super chunky yarn that doesn't fit through your needle. You can do it one at a time, but since I'm using such a small yarn, I can fit both through. And I'm just going through and wrapping it around that last row of loops that we had made on the loom. So there's so much yarn run through here. at the top of the hat. That thing's never going to open up again. We're never going to have a problem with that. Okay. There, that's good enough. I'm happy with that. I can cut this off so that nobody feels upset with any yarns bothering them. And here we go. Look, see? Oh, that's not coming off. That pom-pom is on. Okay. Now remember, any stitch at all would have worked running up here. You can experiment with different stitches and see how you like. You can do a knit, a purl, and any combination of knit and purl. And that's how I make a pom-pom. I've seen people use cardboard discs and things. I've never done that. I always just make them on my finger. But that's it. That is all that I have to share with you at this point. We will meet up again. We need to discuss how to get your yarn off your belly button. That was a question that I was asked. Because when I started this, I put my loop straight onto the peg. So I didn't have to worry about how to get it off the belly button. So in our next video, we'll start something and I will show you, if you've cast on looping onto the belly button, I'll show you ways to get that incorporated into your piece. And we can work together and make something from scratch. We're also going to make something rectangular or square so that I can show you the way to get that piece off of your loom, which requires a, what do you call those things? A crochet hook. All right, look at it. I'm kind of in love with this. This is sweet. This is sweet. All right, have fun. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section and I will do my best to have a turn with the internet. I have to share my internet with my children. I will do my best to have a turn with the internet and answer any questions that you have that you put in the comments. And while you're down there, now that we have some different series going on, we have Elisa's skincare series and her lamb watch, which is exciting. And now we're working through knitting together. I'd say now would be a good time to actually subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a piece of one of our segments, of our series. You don't miss a segment of our series, right? And if there's a little bell icon, and if you click on that, your phone or computer or whatever will ding and let you know the Handmaidens have uploaded a new video. So maybe you're sitting around going, I want to get my hat off my loom. You know, today at some point, your phone would ring and say, ping, we're taking the hats off today. We're doing it. So consider that, please. Consider following us and being notified so that you don't miss a step. And also remember to comment any questions so our little community can grow and learn together. And also, if you make something, we have a friend Kate I've just met, friend of my mom's. And Kate, I'm having a great time watching her share pictures of things that she's making on her loom. So yay, Kate! Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And good luck to you. And I hope that this helps you along with the hat. Any questions you have, feel free to ask. Okay? Have a great day. Have fun with your pom-poms. Bye!